All right, I think we are live. Possibly, if this is working at all, because I actually have no idea what's going on with this thing. I probably should have asked somebody how to.
I'm not getting anything.
Let's see. Sometimes you have to. There we go. Let's see.
Oh.
Sometimes you have to. Okay.
Cool.
So, cool. We are live. And it seems like the audio is working. And I'm definitely getting error messages on here, so that's helpful. All right. Let's see here. That is working. So. Oh God, everything's wrong. There we go. Oh, there are 3 people watching, so we actually do have people here. Unless it's there, here, and there.
I'm pretty sure
that could be it, yeah.
Yeah, because it says we have 2 watching.
Cool. Works for me. Okay. Oh yeah, my laptop is running great right now. Let's see here. I totally know.
What's the topic? Well, we have some
hello.
Preset questions about our
well, I think the stream just crashed. Okay, we're good.
But the topic right now is figuring out what the fuck is happening.
Yeah, this is gonna be kind of a bear with us stream because I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. If that was not already apparent enough. All right, let's see. I mean, if anybody has any sort of question or topic that they would like discussed, that is absolutely welcome.
But for now, so I guess you have the chat open, so I'll just pull up our list of pre-done questions to start us off. All right, so this is religion in our relationship that I made up. So if these suck, I didn't make them. So, number 1, when did you first realize you were an atheist? Ladies first.
Okay.
You have hair all over you.
Well, that I would blame that on your house.
Okay,
well, I guess I kind of realized that I was an atheist within the last 2 years, probably, somewhere around there.
And what brought you to this conclusion?
well, I was a Christian for a very, very long time and never really questioned it at all. And then I just kind of stopped going to church for a while because I was busy, and suddenly I was no longer really all that into it. Because when you don't really have it constantly there as an influencing force in your life, it kind of fades away.
That's kind of what it was for me. I was probably like 13, and we could have a whole nother discussion on why I don't necessarily use the word atheist to describe myself, and then he would argue that I am 100% one, but we'll get into that more later. But I've first really started, what are you doing? Questioning when I was 13, and it was basically just me being like, oh, well, there's all these different belief systems that contradict each other, so nobody's completely right. So I don't really see what the huge deal about it is. And now I'm basically of the mindset that, like, whatever you believe happens, kind of.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
It's interesting.
It's kind of dumb, but not sponsored.
Okay.
Not sponsored at all.
So our audio is good, which is nice to hear. All right. So, yeah, speaking of the conversation about how people identify, I have managed to reach Steve McRae through Godless Iowan, and we will be having a conversation about that on, I think this Friday night. So that will be an oh god. So that'll be an interesting conversation. Hello, friends. We have 2 people watching. Sweet.
You and I.
No, there's 2 people chatting, so that's good. And the video is a bit choppy. It does seem to be that way from what I'm seeing, but I'm not really sure how to fix that. I think that's kind of just how we're going with tonight.
You're not really missing much. We're just kind of sitting here being fuckwits.
Yeah, sounds about right.
It doesn't really need to be HD. It's not going to be that kind of show. What are you doing?
Causing problems.
It's like even choppy, like on our monitor.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what we can do about that at the moment. I'll have to get with Iowan probably at some point this week and figure out how to actually do this correctly.
If you have any suggestions, hit us up. All right. So, question 2. Do you have any major differences in what you believe?
I would say probably, because of what you just brought up about whatever you think happens after you die probably happens. That is essentially your belief on the matter, is that not?
In layman's terms, I guess.
All right. How would you explain it?
Like that.
Okay. Could you go into any more detail about it?
No.
That's helpful. I appreciate that.
Well, I basically, I don't know, I guess just, I feel like we're more in control than we think in a way, and like you control your thoughts to an extent, and like your thoughts control you. That doesn't really make any sense.
I mean, it makes sense. I just don't really understand what sense it makes in the context of what happens to you when you die.
I mean, I basically, like, if you feel like you're gonna go to heaven, then I feel like even though there's technically like no brain activity, then like you basically have this, I don't know. I like to believe that I'm gonna see my dogs and cats again, and
That's fair enough.
without all the bullshit of like wine and crackers and like facing a certain way to pray.
You see, it would bring up the issue for me if that were the case, that you go where you want to go when you die. Of what about the people who are just horribly shitty to everybody, that do horrible things
Well,
their
I think
whole
we
life?
all have like our own personal thing. It's not like one big collective world. Like,
well, no. I mean, do you think that like people who are very horrible, evil people would also get to go after they die to somewhere that is exactly what they want?
probably.
Okay. And do you think?
Because I mean, horrible is relative.
I mean, you could, yeah, that's fair enough. Horrible is kind of relative, but I don't know.
Ha ha ha.
So, do you think it's an actual physical? Do you think there's a part of you that is what lives on after you die that goes to this place? Like a soul or something along those lines?
I guess, and while that sounds like really hoity-toity and non-scientific, I feel like there's a lot of things that like go beyond like scientific explanation, at least for the moment. And I mean, if somebody can give me evidence to the contrary or that proves there's something else, then I would be more than inclined to believe it. But at this point, we really just don't know. And I feel like there's a lot of things that like transcend science in a way. Like we have art and music and literature, and I feel like those types of things kind of are part of what makes us human. And while I definitely value science, I'm going into life sciences. I definitely think that there's you can't be too either or, and I feel like in a lot of religions there's too many that are too like philosophical, like emphasis on like metaphysical, if that makes sense. And
Mm-hmm.
then I feel like there are some people that are too like, if there's not like a formula or like a Newton's law to go with it, then it just can't be. And I don't think either one is really a true or healthy view.
Okay. So you think that some belief in something metaphysical is a good thing,
I don't
potentially.
necessarily think it's good or bad. I just think it's something that it's like we said, like God is not moral or immoral, it's amoral.
Okay, you're gonna have to
Maybe,
explain that to
maybe
me.
not. I don't know. It's been a long day. Okay, but I would say, getting back to the original question, our main difference is that you are very anti-theistic, and
Mhm.
I am not
Okay.
as much because you're more, and you're also more like there is no God, there is nothing after. Fuck you, and then and then I'm more like coexist, bruh.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, would you
So,
say that's true?
I wouldn't necessarily call myself a there is no God. What was the second part?
Religion is bad.
I mean, that part I definitely agree
I
with.
don't think religion is all bad.
No, it's not all bad. However,
I
there's
think it's less bad than you think it is.
well,
I
the
think.
thing that it just keeps going back to the challenge that Godless Cranium put out, which is the question of what part of religion that is beneficial cannot be emulated or replaced by secular means. And I've yet to hear any sort of actual good answer to that question, and I don't think Cranium has either. And I think that's really the crux of it, because while religion can be good for some people, it also has a lot of negative aspects. And if all of the positive aspects can be emulated by secular means without the negative aspects of it, the belief in things that have no reason to be believed in, and the all of the woo that surrounds it, I feel like,
I
as
feel
well
like
as the
that's a very
dogmatism of
simple.
it.
I feel like that's a very good proposition in context, but it doesn't necessarily work that way in practice.
How do you how do
Because,
you mean?
like,
Hello, Godless Journey.
I guess, and I'm not saying this is the case for me, but I guess some people, this is a really poor example too, probably, but like if somebody's going through like a mental illness, for in some instances they may find traditional talk therapy, if you will, doesn't necessarily work, whereas they find a means through prayer. And like I'm not gonna sit here and like I don't think that's necessarily the best avenue, but I'm not gonna say that if prayer works for somebody, then they should stop doing that, if that makes sense.
But then it also kind of goes into the whole problem of, if the thing that is keeping you okay is your religion, then what happens if you're relying on that to keep you like sane and in a good place? Then what happens if and when that religion is questioned and called into question, and if you were to lose that?
I mean, I feel like that's a separate issue though.
How so? I mean, it is, but I feel like if you're going to talk about it in that way, where you, because there are certainly people who get something good out of religion. I'm not arguing against that, because people certainly do, and there are plenty of people who are better people, specifically personally them, just because of their religion. But at the same time, I feel like there are better motivations for those things, and if that's all that's making you make those decisions, then it's kind of a negative motivation for it, and it makes it so that if something were to ever happen with that, then would you continue to be acting this way? It's kind of similar to the morality argument of, well, without God, if when people argue that without God there's no reason to not do horrible things, so by extension, well, yeah, I know it's a very stupid thing, but people say it, and then it's a matter of, so if there was not a God, would you go out and do these horrible things? And they're either left with their possibilities being yes, which means that's kind of just them being a shitty person, or no, in which case it must not be objective.
I think that's a fair point. I guess my thing is I guess we're having to sort of separate, we have the same view on two separate arguments. That like, do I believe there's a real purpose for it that cannot be replaced by secular means? For me personally, no. For other people, that may be the case for them. I'm not going to try to dispute what works for somebody, so long as they're not hurting themselves or other people. But in terms of like, what's like the second part of that?
Well, I feel like the one of the main problems with that is just the matter of the dogmatism of most religions, and the fact that it's very, everything kind of hinges on each other, all the little beliefs of the religion. So people are kind of forced to either not pickpocket, cherry pick the little pieces of it that they like, while ignoring the the parts that they don't, or they hold on to the parts even that they know or the evidence shows are not true, in order to justify keeping the rest, which
And
is an aspect of religion
I
that
would
is
say,
kind of inseparable in a lot of cases
and I
from
would
the
say
good that happens.
that's very true. And I would also say that that's part of what made me start questioning stuff, I guess, just in terms of like evolution, and then like um whatchamacallit, I guess views on like women and equality in marriages.
Mm-hmm.
But I also would say, like, for every person, there's a different interpretation of the Bible. So
Oh
it
yeah,
doesn't
absolutely.
really. And I guess that was like another thing, is like we all interpret it differently. So there's not going to be anybody who's 100% right.
That's fair.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't. It just doesn't seem completely practical or realistic to think that, like, we are all. What am I trying to say? I did not
Oh,
take
you
my.
don't know. I certainly don't.
I haven't taken my meds today or yesterday. Maybe the day before. Not sponsored. Take your meds, kids. See, I like these arguments, but I feel like doing them live, I'm like, doesn't work too well. Whatever.
Where are you going now? Oh, okay. It's not like we have an audience or anything.
I mean,
we have 6 whole people watching, Renee. You can't just walk away.
well, I was on hiatus for about 3 seconds. Okay, go G to C. I think that's how they say it. Have you ever had church potluck casseroles? Those are real good. I don't really like church food except the one I go to because they have donuts every Sunday.
That may be worth it. I don't think I could make myself sit through it just for the donuts, but I might come in and get a donut and then leave.
I mean, I play guitar though.
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
It's like fine.
Works for you. I don't think I would be able to.
That's the only.
Keep with it. Because I went to my sister graduated this past Saturday along with this one
Laura.
here. So my sister graduated along with you on Saturday.
Yep.
So it's a matter of
did it.
I had to go to the baccalaureate for my sister because my family is very religious. So that was fun. That was very interesting to be the one and only what? It was interesting being the one person standing there who was just kind of not where he was supposed to be. Like everyone was standing and singing and I was just standing there awkwardly trying not to be just noticed not singing. And then there was like a 20-minute like preaching session afterward that I have recorded and will probably be making a video or two about because it was interesting. But yeah, I don't think I could.
Basically just like a celibacy talk.
Yeah, it was basically just kids, you know what people like to do in college? They like to have sex. You shouldn't do that. It was basically that for 20 minutes. And
it just seems so inappropriate for like graduation.
Yeah, I'd say so. And
like what about
most of the parents were thrilled, but that's Tennessee for you. Godless Journey says congrats. Main Gun 07 says congrats.
Thank you. I'm excited for college.
Mm-hmm. I'm already in college. So.
Yeah. It happens.
It's fun. It's all right. You'll probably enjoy it more than me because you're going to an actual college.
You'll go to an actual college eventually.
Yeah. Are you going to read?
Dog. Do you not hear?
Which one is that? Nadia?
I don't know.
We have a dog baying upstairs.
Yeah. Whoops. How did religion affect the early stages of your relationship? Wow. I got a story for you.
Oh, God.
We first met when we were both
What are these movements?
I don't know.
You look drunk.
So we met in middle school jazz band like 6 years ago, I guess. But we were like aware of each other's existence, but like never actually spoke until probably 4 years ago.
Something like that.
Would have been my freshman year, his sophomore year. So we knew each other then, but then when I was a freshman, we were in the same high school band program, and this kid kept pestering me to go to church with him, and I always came up with really great excuses like
Oh yeah, they were interesting.
like no, I'm sorry, I gotta wash dishes or something ridiculous like that, because I was like, be like, not really, that's not really my jam.
I guess I have to go wash dishes is better for me to hear than no, I am a sinner.
Yeah, and I wasn't about to like turn down friends, so I just like came up with bullshit excuses like I gotta go to wash dishes,
There
water
were
my
a
plants.
lot of stupid things like that.
Sorry.
I'm very glad that you did not somehow have a come to Jesus moment because of me.
Nope.
That would have been unfortunate. Like I get you into it, and then about a year or two later, I'm like, oh shit. Oh wait, but
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for the most part, other than that, religion hasn't really been any sort of aspect of our relationship. It's just kind of been a talking point every once in a while, especially in Chick-fil-A, oddly enough.
Hi, yes, I want my lunch with an extra side of hate. But it's so delicious.
It's good. Yeah. I don't know. If I remember correctly, when I saw some of the videos last year at the Ark Encounter protest, people were offered Chick-fil-A and turned it down. Like I think it was, I don't know if it was another Christian organization or if it was Answers in Genesis that were trying to hand out Chick-fil-A sandwiches, and everyone was just turning them down. So I got to be strong if I'm going this year, and I think I am. So I'll have to be strong and not take the Chick-fil-A, and it will be difficult.
College would be boring without the kitty.
Yeah, I saw that. I enjoyed that one.
Amazing.
The computer has not been plugged in this whole time, and it's about to die on us. There we go.
Maybe that's why it's running so slow.
That might be part of it.
The more you know. Okay. Question 4. Has it ever, or does it cause problems?
Not really.
No, we're basically just, he just like asks me questions and then I have to think, and then I'm too tired to think, and I'm just like, let me think on that. But
pretty much, yeah.
We don't really get into arguments. Like,
no, it's more discussions, which is good.
It's not worth arguing over.
Yeah.
Do we even?
I mean, I think it is worth arguing over some points, but nothing that we disagree on.
Between us.
Yeah, nothing that we disagree on, I feel like, is worth arguing over.
Yeah, because I feel like
all mainly discussion topics for the most part.
Yeah. Have we even ever actually argued about stuff?
Not really.
I feel like if there's like an argument, it's like about another person.
Pretty much, yeah.
Question 5. If your partner were to ever become religious or claim a religion, would that be a deal breaker?
I don't know if it would be a deal breaker. It would just be very strange.
Yeah.
Probably more strange for you if I were to.
Well, probably. It's just weird because he was all like, I want to be a youth pastor, and
I
then
did indeed.
He like did a complete like 180
in like a year and a half.
Yeah. And then now he's like even more not Jesus-y than I am. But like, I don't think it would really bother me, just as long as you weren't like a douche about it. And I feel like that's
fair enough.
Like,
so as long as I wasn't a native Tennessean about it.
Exactly. Just like, Don't be obtrusive.
Fair enough. Yeah, I feel like that's about it. As long as I would still want to have discussions about it. Either way, whichever one of us were to find religion. The only one in my family who will actually talk to me about any of it is my mom, and she's
Oh,
she's interesting. We have some good conversations. It's they never really go anywhere, but
at least she's willing to have them.
yeah, which is kind of nice. My sister kind of runs away with her fingers in her ears. My dad just doesn't care enough to talk about it.
Something smells. Are you farting?
I am not.
Okay,
That's probably the rabbit.
probably. Okay. Number 6. How does atheism affect aspects of your relationship? Dates, romanticism, sex, etc.
You see, you wrote out most of these questions, not accounting for the fact that the answer to number 4 kind of
Well,
negates some of these.
well, if you had, I don't know, read through them like I'd asked you
I did
to
read through them, but
and thought about them like you maybe should have, then maybe we could have avoided this problem. Or maybe if you had come up with some questions of your own, maybe we would have avoided this problem. But no, I do everything for this family.
yeah, I see. So the question was, how does it affect aspects of our relationship?
Yeah, so like, for example, dates. Like, we don't really go to church, obviously. Which
You
I know,
do.
like, together. Which
I went with you on New Year's Eve or New Year's one day, one year.
Yep. 'Cause I had
It
to
was
play.
an interesting experience.
It wasn't bad.
I didn't enjoy it.
It could have been a lot worse.
That's fair enough.
So like romanticism, I guess. We're like, I don't know, we don't read our Bible together. I don't even know.
I don't think Girl Defined would appreciate most aspects of our relationship
probably
if
not.
that's what the question is.
I don't really appreciate most aspects of Girl Defined, so
yeah, that's fair. That's kind of why I brought you in.
Also, like, I have a YouTube channel, but I only have one video and it's unlisted. And it's basically on like women's issues, kind of. If I were to do more videos, that's what they would be on.
Yeah.
So if you want content, I don't know, love me or something. Sex. Do we want to get into that or no?
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay. Use your imagination, kids. Has Christianity or any other religion changed how you view and approach relationships?
That's I'm interested in your answer. I don't know. I'll get into mine, but
basically, if people are really like, I don't like to use the word obtrusive, but I'll use it anyway, obtrusive about it, then that's kind of a red flag for me because I feel like they're don't necessarily, and like I'm not saying that like people who like view like God as like critical to their relationships, like have bad relationships or whatever. I'm not saying that at all, but like for me personally, it kind of just shows maybe they don't like to think for themselves or might be too traditional in their way of thinking for my personal taste, and just like in terms of like I said, like women's issues, they might not be as forward thinking as they maybe should be to have a healthy dialogue with me or respect me. this has been a problem in the past if you couldn't already get those vibes, but
Not with
I,
me.
not with this guy, but like the other people who are like, I don't know, I've never been with like a super Jesus freak, but like the one of the people I was with was kind of, well, I guess claimed to be a Christian, but also would make like Holocaust jokes, which those two things don't really add up for me.
I mean, the Catholic Church was not really all that opposed to it because
That's fair.
they were
That's
going off
fair.
of the Jews killed Jesus thing. They eventually let that go, which is encouraging, I suppose.
But anyway, this kid clearly just did not use his brain ever and was like, and still to this day like makes really shitty comments about women, and I like don't really understand how I did not pick up on that sooner. But I'm an idiot, but I got out of there, so it's all good.
When I was a Christian, I was very, very traditionalist as far as relationships go. And I feel like it was a big, what's the word I'm kind of looking for here? It's really just a huge hindrance to trying to understand yourself, is really how I would say it. It's when you have an institution that is such a big part of your identity and your life, as religion was in mine, and it's telling you all of these things that you can and can't do and how you should and shouldn't feel and all of these things regarding things that are completely natural feelings for human beings, being just love and attraction and that sort of thing. It's it's very confusing for people who are trying to navigate their world without, well, while keeping all that in mind, without somebody to kind of tell them that it's okay to actually figure your shit out rather than just taking other people's word for it, I guess, is my biggest thing with that, because it's very suppressive, I would say, as far as at least the religion that I was brought up in, as far as religion, or as far as relationships and all of that went. It was very, very repressive and very, I would say, just very unhealthy. And I think it's just not something that is good for especially the younger age demographics, like the high school, middle school age, which is a lot of when I became super involved in the church, was during that period of my life. And I feel like, looking back on it, almost all of the advice given about dating and relationships and just everything that surrounds that was just really bad advice. And I don't know, honestly, I'm not sure if the church realizes if that it's bad advice or not. I don't know if they know that they're kind of fucking with these kids when they tell them to completely ignore their own natural tendencies as human beings, but
Such as
just normal attraction. Even, you're not like, the way that I was brought up in my church was, it was almost it was almost taboo even just to be like attracted to people, almost, I want to say. Like, it was very much like, if you are going to be involved with a person romantically, your end goal should be marriage. That was basically it. That was starting in middle school. They started teaching this. And that kind of fucked with me a little bit. And I'm sure it fucked with a lot of different people, because it's just not something that
it's not
should,
healthy.
it's not a healthy thing to be thinking about when you are
12.
12 and trying to figure out who you are and what you like and who you like, that kind of thing. to then also have your church telling you, and you should not be dating for fun and to figure yourself out. You should be dating only to eventually marry that person, which was very prevalent.
And that's like really unhealthy, like in terms of.
You should probably talk a little louder because it doesn't look like it's picking you up.
And that I find that to be like really, like, just thinking about how you said that is really unhealthy in terms of like how I would say our society views. Hand me the mic, Jim. I would say it's really unhealthy in terms of how our society views women, because also the main goal is of marriage, typically in a biblical sense, is for procreation, and that's kind of just making women into baby machines, which is not true, not exactly or healthy.
A great thing to drill into children's heads.
And I don't think that's necessarily the intention, but I feel like you could certainly...
You can cherry pick throughout the Bible to make marriage be just about anything you want it to be, but when you actually read through the whole thing and you don't take out all the bad shit and you read it for what it is, biblical marriage, despite what everyone would like to make it out to be when they're trying to suppress groups of people who want rights but are not allowed them for religious reasons throughout the countries, to define biblical marriage as between a man and a woman, when in actuality biblical marriage was more so a man and as many wives, concubines, and slaves that he could afford to keep in his house. So it's really not a very reverent thing. And if that's the kind of marriage that God supposedly invented, that people like to claim, then it's very, very different from the marriage that is a legal marriage in most countries and is what is actually in question when making those sorts of decisions. And that's something that religion kind of interjects itself in where it really does not belong, I feel like. Was that even on topic at all with the question?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, good.
Okay, and then kind of on the flip side of that, has deconversion changed how you view and approach relationships?
I would say yes, just based on the fact that I realized that it was not a bad thing to actually learn yourself and learn what you like and what you want and who you enjoy being around without necessarily needing the backbone of this is for life because that's how God wants it, sort of thing, and to not feel so restricted and suppressed by this establishment that is supposedly supposed to be a good thing, that is supposed to be leading you in the ways that you're supposed to be living, but is actually just keeping you from what is natural and normal for human beings.
I would tend to agree with that, but in terms of just me personally, I would say it hasn't really changed me that much. And I guess part of it is I was never really in a relationship until after I was like, But I guess for me it was more so I always had the same views on relationships, and like you said, like it should be about like figuring out who you are. And I felt like that, I guess, a more secular way of thinking was more in line with my beliefs, particularly on that. So I guess no, that makes sense.
I think it's
I feel like deconversion didn't change me. It was more like I changed and then the conversion happened, but it happened in the opposite order, kind of. It doesn't really make sense, but I feel like that's what happened.
Your views changed and then you adjusted your religious leanings to reflect what you actually believed.
Yes.
Okay. That makes
What
sense.
he said. What he said. And I guess we will now open the floor for questions, and I will, and if there are none, I will pull up the 100 random questions tag, and we'll just
Oh God,
rapid fire.
that'll be interesting. And they don't necessarily have to be about religion or relationships or anything, just random questions. This is basically more of a test stream than anything because I didn't know what I was doing until we just now started this one. We have been together for like a year and a half, almost 2 years.
654 days.
Oh God. What she said.
I have a countdown on my phone. And
Which is
it's
sweet.
Not, it's not, and it hasn't, I will say it's not been 654 consecutive days necessarily.
It's been
that we addressed, but we've always been in each other's hearts.
I feel violated.
We've had some interesting
Assholes.
Yeah.
Get involved in the middle, but
Yeah. One of those assholes being me, but it's fine.
Nah, you're fine.
I know I am.
Anyway.
Nice. I've been alive for 18 years.
Fair enough.
2000 is a good year, man.
It's something. I will soon have been alive for 20 years. I am very young.
Old fart. Soon you're going to qualify for ARP.
Would you like to pull up the random questions tag then?
I guess.
I guess we'll just rapid fire some random shit.
50 questions you've never been
I am going to school for theater and vocal performance. And
I am going to major in environmental science and minor in green engineering. Going to become a professional tree hugger.
She's going to save the world and I'm going to perform for it.
We're actually the power couple of the year. If, there's an environment left when I get out of school and if the economy doesn't crash and we still have the arts.
So,
and if not,
fingers crossed.
And if not, porn will always be an industry.
Yes. You need to fix your phone so it doesn't turn off every 2 seconds, but
you need to fix yourself so you don't turn me off every 2 seconds.
Oh, Godless Journey works for an environmental engineer company.
I'll send you a resume.
And don't you live in New York, Godless Journey? I believe that is the case, if I remember correctly. Damn this latency. He does indeed. That's where I would eventually like to end up, so.
Yep.
Do we have questions?
Okay.
Rapid fire. Let's do it.
What's your favorite candle scent?
Lemon.
That's a good one. I like caramel-y ones.
Caramel's good.
And
it's too rich, I feel like.
And chocolate.
I don't like coffee.
I like food. What female celebrity do you wish was your sister?
That's a weird ass question.
It's 50 questions you've never been asked.
That's fair enough. Celebrity sister. Who seems like they have a lot of money and would be very generous to their non-celebrity brother?
I have no idea.
Somebody like that.
I'm gonna go with Lord, just so she can like do my hair in the morning.
Fair enough.
What male celebrity do you wish was your brother?
Oh God.
I almost said you, and then I was like, "That's creepy."
That's really weird, and I'm not a celebrity.
You will be.
Oh God, there's so many.
I'm gonna get so much hate for this.
You see, having them be my brother takes them away as a romantic interest, so that shortens the list by quite a bit.
Yeah. I don't know. I would say Benedict Cumberbatch, except like you said, that's takes away a romantic conquest.
Oh God. My brother, huh? I'll have to get back on that one. I'll have to think about that because I know I have an answer for it. I just can't place it at the moment.
Number 4, how old do you think you'll be when you get married? 23 or 22? Yeah, 22 or 23, which is really young.
Possibly what she said. I guess we'll find out.
Stay tuned. Do you know a hoarder? Yes, myself.
I wouldn't consider myself a hoarder.
You're a hoarder.
I don't think I am. I like knickknacks.
You keep restaurant signs in your closet.
Okay, they're
promotional restaurant signs from your job.
But
it's
also my favorite restaurant.
You
and
keep multiples of promotional signs in your closet.
And I will not have
and flu
access.
Masks.
No, that's not true. You are wrong. But I definitely have Zaxby's promotional things in my closet because they are only in the South, and I want to remember them fondly when I move up north to escape the South, as everyone should try and do.
Can you do a split? I used to be able to, but now I would probably rip my lady parts in half.
No, I can't.
How old were you when you learned how to ride a bike? I believe I was 5.
Oh God, I have no idea. I think I can't remember either if I was one of the people that used training wheels for like ever, or if I was somebody who got off of them really quickly. I cannot remember.
I feel like I was very in the middle. I feel like I was like 5.
Okay, I remember. I think when I was like 6 or 7, I fell on my bike and scraped up my knee really bad, and then didn't ride my bike for like 2 years.
Nice.
I think there was something like that. I don't think I forgot how after that, but I think there was definitely a big gap where I did not ride my bike.
How many oceans have you swam in? You won, right?
Yeah, just be the Atlantic. Yeah.
Atlantic and Pacific. I think that's it. Yeah. There's really not that many oceans, though.
No, not really. I've swam in. Is it Lake Michigan that is right near Sandusky, Ohio? Somewhere in Sandusky, Ohio, I swam in one of the Great Lakes, but I think that's about it, other than the Atlantic.
How many countries have you been to?
Oof. I have been to the United States. I went there once. I've been to. Oh God, what is it? Where's Amsterdam? The Netherlands?
Yes.
So I've been to the Netherlands. I've been to Austria, the Czech Republic, and I can't quite remember if you have to drive through somewhere else to get from Austria to the Czech Republic. If so, I've been there. If not, then just those 4.
So I've been in the United States. I've been to the Bahamas. I've been to Scotland. I feel like I've been like some other country that I don't remember where. So maybe just those three.
So I've been to more countries than you know. You've definitely been to more states than I have.
Yes.
Woo. There went the
Nice.
mic.
Yeah, I've been to. Well, let's do states now. So I've been to.
Oh God. Are we
Well,
talking about ones you've stopped in or ones you've driven through?
I'll do both. So
I don't know which ones I've driven through.
So I've been been to Washington, California, Nevada, obviously, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Texas. Well, I like drove through Texas. I don't think I've ever actually stayed in Texas. Stayed in Oklahoma. Um, spent the night in Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, Virginia, Tennessee. I'm like visualizing the map in my head. I might have spent the night in Arkansas. I don't know. Um, New York, Pennsylvania. Massachusetts.
So you've been to like half the states at least.
Hawaii.
Forgot you went to Hawaii. I did not go to Hawaii, sadly.
Yeah.
I have been to Tennessee.
Ohio.
I've been to Tennessee. I've been to Kentucky. I've been to Georgia.
Indiana. Indianapolis is.
I've been to Florida. I don't know if it's South Carolina. I think I've been to South Carolina. Wisconsin. I've been to Ohio, New York. I think that's it and Virginia. And I think that's all the ones I've actually stopped
When
in.
were you in Virginia?
Or DC, but that's mainly Virginia. Yeah. So that's about where I've been. That ad is just me.
Okay. Is anyone in your family in the army?
My uncle on my married in uncle on my father's side, I think, was a Marine. I think he's something in the military.
My grandfather served in Korea in the Navy. And that's
I think my great grandfather on my mother's side I think he was at D-Day. I think. I could be wrong. But I think that's what I've understood from my mother is that he was present at D-Day.
What would you name your daughter if you had one? We have a daughter in The Sims named Whistle.
Oh god.
Don't ask.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I would have to see the kid to actually name it. I don't think I'm capable of naming a kid without seeing it.
What would you name your son if you had one?
Well, my current son, Leonard, is a succulent.
We have a son in The Sims named Ansel.
My son is a succulent named Leonard, and he's very young. I've just recently got him, and
From my mom.
From her mom, and he seems to be doing great. He's loving life. He's living in my enclosed sunroom, so nothing's eaten him yet. It's going pretty well.
What's the worst grade you got on a test?
oh god, a 32, I think, in a an
Algebra
algebra
2.
2 class, in a class that I was it was the more advanced class that I had n requested not to be in, got a teacher to sign off on me not being in, and then got put in anyway, and then got a 32 on a test, which finally made them realize, "Oh, shit, he shouldn't be here," and put me down in the slightly less advanced class. And then I took the same test again after 2 days in that class, and I got a 99 because our teacher in the other class sucked.
Um,
Didn't you get like a 16 on an
I
algebra
got
2
okay.
test?
No. I got a
You had one test where the curve was higher than your score.
yeah, I got a well, my pre-curve grade was a 23 and then
There it
my
is.
after curve grade was a 48. Yeah,
Oh god.
in honors pre-calculus.
Mhm.
I took that class again.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Uh,
What else do we have?
what was your favorite TV show when you were a child?
Huh.
I liked Kipper and
That's a good one.
Clifford.
I didn't know about Kipper until recently, and I'm a fan of it now. So that is a fantastic show. Um, Probably like SpongeBob. I don't know. I think that one was probably my go-to,
Gross.
mainly because it was my dad's favorite.
Probably still is.
He still watches it now, I think. I think he still watches just about all cartoons now.
Your dad's a character.
He is. My whole family's interesting.
What did you dress up as on Halloween when you were 8? I believe I was
God,
Cleopatra.
I don't fucking know. I was 8 at some point. That was over 10 years ago. I
Yeah.
have no idea what I was.
It would have been second grade.
Doesn't help me.
Okay. Did you not dress up
I did. I just have no
at
idea what the fuck
school?
I was. Nah.
We always did that. Fascist bastards. Um, have you read any of the Harry Potter, Hunger Games, or Twilight series?
Yes, yes, no.
I read the first chapter of the first book of Harry Potter and said, nope, can't do it. Read all the Hunger Games, and then I read the first Twilight book and was like, this is a shit show.
I will say I I used to care a lot about Harry Potter and now I could not really give less of a shit. The Hunger Games, I feel like the first book was good. The second book was decent, but got to ride off the coattails of the first one. The third book was kind of shitty, and the movies were all kind of shitty. And
I thought the first one was okay.
it was okay. It was the best of the four,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It was mainly a money grab, I feel like at that point.
Was it
I'm
ever
just
not?
looking back, I'm not really impressed with the Hunger Games at all.
Not really. Okay. Would you rather have an American accent or a British accent?
I feel
British.
like I'd have more views if I had a British accent.
I feel like I would get more dates if I had a British accent.
Fair enough.
I love you.
Don't touch me.
I love you. My butter biscuit.
Anyway.
Did your mother go to college? Yes.
Yes. I don't think she graduated from college. I think she went to art school.
Are your grandparents still married? On one side, yes. On the other side, no. And he passed away like 4 years ago, but she is now remarried.
Both of my sets of grandparents are still married today.
Have you ever taken karate lessons? I took one karate class and then I have taken like 6 years of Filipino martial arts.
And she likes to pretend she could kick my ass, but I'd actually just hold her back with one hand.
I'm a small boy.
And that's SMOLBOI for people who are wondering. I took, I think, a year of Taekwondo when I was younger.
How
And
did I never know about that?
and then my instructor like moved, and I was like very personally hurt by that. And yeah, I never took another fighting class. The only thing I actually remember about my instructor was that one, he left, and I was very personally upset by that. And two, he once crashed my dad's motorcycle. So yeah. I didn't have a great experience with Taekwondo, I guess.
Do you know who Kermit the Frog is? How do you not?
Of course I know who Kermit the Frog is.
What's the first amusement park you've been to?
Uh, Probably Disney, I think. Disney World.
Mine would have been like probably SeaWorld or no, Legoland.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever been to Legoland. I probably would have loved it when I was little because I used to love Legos.
I literally have Legos in the next room. That's what we're doing tonight. We're gonna play with Legos.
Works for me.
What language besides your native language would you like to be fluent in?
I feel like Spanish would be useful. French, I just kind of naturally hate because I took 3 years of it and did not enjoy a single minute of it. Italian might be nice because I'm a singer
sexy.
and I sing a lot in Italian and I have no idea what the fuck I'm singing. So that might help. Or German because I like to sing in German. No, I don't know. Probably Italian or German.
I think Italian's really pretty. I want to be fluent in Esperanto. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really know. Yeah, Italian would be good. Yeah. Look at this chin. This chin. Okay.
You're such a mess.
I know. I hate myself. Do you spell the color as
brilliant?
Grey or Gray?
Oh God.
Yes.
Yeah, it kind of just depends on what mood I'm in.
I think usually with a A.
I think I normally use an E.
Okay. Is your father bald? No.
Basically.
Do you know triplets? I did in preschool.
I knew triplets in grade school as well.
Do you prefer Titanic or The Notebook?
I don't like either.
I don't like either, but if I had to watch one, it would probably be The Notebook.
Just because it's shorter.
Basically, yeah. Have you ever had Indian food?
Yes. I don't think I have, actually. I don't think I've ever had Indian food.
I have, but I'm not sure if it was like super authentic Indian food.
I mean, it was in America, wasn't it?
No.
Really? Where was it?
The Bahamas.
Probably even less authentic then.
What's the name of your favorite restaurant?
Probably Zaxby's.
It's not a restaurant.
That's a restaurant.
It's a company. The French Market, Creperie, and Patisserie.
She's weird. What do I like that's not like fast food? I don't know.
Domino's.
No, I don't really like Domino's. Domino's is like
Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut's good. Pizza Hut's really good. And it will not dox my location either because they have Pizza Huts in like 100 countries or something.
Have you ever been to Olive Garden? Yes, and their
course.
breadsticks are to die for.
I used to like their breadsticks and now I don't.
Do you belong to any warehouse stores like Costco, Sam's, or BJ's? I would like to belong to BJ's. I'm just kidding. I am a Costco member.
I am not, but I sneak in anyway for food.
Yep.
Because
Their
you don't
frozen
need a
yogurt
card to
is
buy the
the
food
shit.
court food.
Yep.
And it is very nice and very cheap.
What would your parents have named you if you were the opposite gender?
Oh,
My name would have
no.
been Everett or Renee because Renee is either gender, really.
I've never met a guy named Renee or heard of a guy named Renee.
There's a couple.
I feel like they had a name and I can't remember what it was. I don't remember what my name would have been if I was a guy or if I was a girl.
Justine.
Justine, probably not.
England.
Fair enough.
It's a funny joke.
I know it is, but it's not a joke we're going to explain.
Yeah. If you have a nickname, what is it? Sunshine.
J. Tatoes. Justinian. Juice Stain. Oh no, do I have any other ones? Ging. Many different nicknames.
Who's your favorite person in the world?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Is this of all time or is this
Would you rather live in a rural area or in the suburbs? I want to live in a city.
Well, yeah, but out of those two, probably suburbs. Probably better than rural. I gotta live in the rural areas of Tennessee.
Can you whistle? Yes.
Yes, I can.
Do you sleep with a nightlight? No.
No, I do not. Unless, like, a podcast running on my phone when I forget to turn off my screen counts as a nightlight. In which case, most nights.
Do you sleep with do you eat breakfast every morning?
Not in the slightest.
No. I get a handful of Cheerios and maybe a Diet Coke if I'm feeling extra healthy. Do you take any pills or medication daily? I'm supposed to, but I forget a lot.
I do indeed. Or I have nervous breakdowns.
What medical conditions do you have? What the fuck? That's none of your damn business.
Fair enough.
Yes.
That's encouraging.
How many times have you been to the hospital? I've been to the emergency room oh no, I was hospitalized once when I was 2 because I was shitting my brains out and I was super dehydrated. But I've been to the emergency room 3 or 4 times.
I don't really know how many times I've been. I've had my tonsils out, so I was at the hospital for that. I don't know if I've...
well, I guess, yeah.
I think so, at least. If
I
not,
don't think you hospitalized, or it's outpatient.
I don't know.
Whatever.
I don't know if I've ever actually been hospitalized. Can't remember.
Have you ever seen Finding Nemo? If you
course.
haven't, you're a fuck.
Wow, that's very sweet.
Where
I will actually debate this with you. I don't think that you're a fuck if you have not watched Finding Nemo. I think you are a lost soul that needs to be gently and very kindly led to the light.
I remember seeing Finding Nemo in the theater, and I was like 3.
I feel like a Finding Nemo apologist at this point.
Where do you buy your jeans?
I think my newest pairs came from Walmart, actually, and I'm actually rather happy with them. But other than that, I think I get them from Kohl's.
Uh, I, I usually get Levi's, so I guess Kohl's, but normally just like places that sell jeans. I don't know. I normally wear leggings because I'm a fuck.
So you've never seen Finding Nemo?
Now, let's do a proof and figure out if that logic makes sense. What's the last compliment you got? I literally don't remember. It was probably something you said to me. But I don't. I got a really nice Jesus. I got a really nice compliment from like my principal today that I saw him because I had to turn something in at my school, but
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
you're very pretty.
Aw,
There you go.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Uh do you usually remember your dreams in the mornings? Yes.
No, almost never. And it pisses me off because I have awesome dreams.
What flavor tea do you enjoy? Yes.
No.
How many pairs of shoes do you currently own? Too
Like
many.
3, maybe? And a pair of flip flops?
Seriously?
Yeah. And wait,
I literally
I
have
have
no
3
idea.
pairs of shoes, a pair of flip flops, and a pair of work shoes that are non slip that I need to replace.
Oh, I need to find mine. I start a new job tomorrow. Yay.
What time do you work?
3.
Fun.
Yeah. What religion will you raise your children to practice? Finding themselves.
That's actually a really interesting question. I
Yeah.
think that it's kind of wrong for parents to bring up their children as far as what to think. I think it's way more important to teach your children how to think, and then to, when they bring you things, to be able to have real logical conversations about them. Like, if you teach them how to think, you don't bring them up in a religion and then they come to you and, well, somebody said something about Jesus, and, well, what did they say about Jesus, and how does this hold up with reality and what we know about people, and how what we know about how the world works, and help them to reason through it, rather than telling them, yeah, we're atheists, we don't believe in God, so you don't believe in God. Because that's one thing that Richard Dawkins hits on a lot, is labeling children as having a religion, which I think is very dishonest and very harmful, and it's just not something that is, like, you wouldn't label a child a communist child, or you wouldn't label a child a fascist child. You wouldn't, so you shouldn't label a child a Muslim child or a Christian child, because they don't actually fully understand the
Yeah.
tenets of that religion.
And then this is kind of going back to something earlier, is I kind of deconverted because I felt like I didn't have enough life experience to really claim any one religion over the other, if that makes sense.
I saw a thing on Snapchat today that was it Snapchat? No, sorry, it was a video. I think it was Life Noggin or the Infographic Show, one of those, and it was talking about ways that children get disciplined throughout the world, and just like common disciplinary things. And I'm actually curious on your thoughts about disciplining children? Like
Like
different ways that people discipline children. Like just one of the simplest ones. Do you think it's okay? Do you think it's something that a parent should be able to do to spank their child?
probably not,
Yeah, I don't think so either.
because you're just teaching them violence.
And I feel like if
And
it weren't such a thing that was ingrained in our culture of spanking children, it would be completely outlandish to think that somebody would hit their child to teach them a lesson.
yeah,
I think that
like
is absolutely disgusting. Like, I'd never really thought about it until very recently when I was watching that video today. I was like, I hadn't thought about that for so long. And then they said something about spanking children and using force on children as a way of deterring negative behavior. And it's just such a disgusting concept to me. Like, like, it's wrong to hit your child for any other reason, just within society. Society deems that wrong. So why is it then somehow okay to hit your child because they've done something wrong? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
yeah, like it, and not even so much that, but I feel like it's just not helpful because like I feel like a lot of times, and this isn't all the time, but I'd say in many instances, like, oh, well, you just need to spank your kid a few times. It's like, well, that's great and all, but like it does nothing constructive. So like if your kid is like in a restaurant screaming, like bending them over and smacking their ass is not really gonna solve the problem. Like you should actually go to the initiative of, I don't know, having a conversation with your idiot kid about why screaming in the middle of a public place is not appropriate behavior.
I think it
Or,
really
I don't
just
know, figure out why your child is screaming.
I feel like a lot of it comes down to just kind of a matter of uh negative reinforcement being the quick, easy,
Yeah, it's just because you don't have to think about
the
it.
convenient response to it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the actual constructive, good way to do it is to, it's not so much to scare your child into doing what they're supposed to do, it's to actually show your child that you know better and that if they respect your ways of doing things and respect the fact that you understand it more than they do, then they will end up in a better place. If you can show them that, and by example and by just having a conversation with your child, I feel like that's much, much more helpful, especially in the long run, than simply ruling your children through fear. I think it's just wrong.
Plus, I feel like that teaches them how to problem solve in the real world. And it's like making them think about their actions, whereas spanking them just teaches them if somebody does something that I don't like or I deem wrong, then it's culturally appropriate to turn them over and whap them on the butt, which that's not how life
Yeah.
works.
It brought up another interesting point that I feel like is kind of I don't know if it's necessarily a controversial topic, but it brought up the idea of children having a right to privacy over the parents' right to actively involve themselves in stopping something or actively involve themselves in keeping their child from doing something to the point where it invades their privacy. Do they have, which right supersedes the other?
I don't think it's necessarily a matter of superseding, it's a matter of finding balance.
Well, yes, but
I feel like, and I feel like it also depends on age too. Like, I feel like I wouldn't let my kid have like free and unlimited access to the internet because that's just there. Like, while I'm definitely a proponent of like not like sheltering from content, I mean, there is like a lot of stuff that like kids just don't necessarily need to be exposed to. Like, a 5-year-old does not need to like accidentally stumble across porn and or like just like a lot of really nasty things on the internet. Like, but if my kid were to like come across something like that, I don't think I would punish them, but I would try to explain like what it was and like express any concerns I may have.
Yeah, I feel like a big part of the problem with uh parents trying to monitor a their child's activity online, it's a it's a big problem of like children not really it's not it's a lot of it is just these subjects are taboo, so I don't want to have the conversation with them
Right.
about them with my children. So it's easier just to manually block them off from it. But the
Right.
problem with that is,
But I feel like there does come a point where it's like my 5-year-old does not need to be watching porn.
oh, yes, but I feel like the more responsible path for that is to
I feel like it maybe not necessarily block sites, but definitely pay attention to what your kid is doing. I feel like that's like
yes, but I
being a
feel like
responsible parent.
rather than like shaming and uh disciplining and just straight up blocking things for children, I feel like the better course of action would be to have conversations with your children about what these things are and just kind of having an open dialogue where your child knows that if there's something that they're curious about or don't understand or come across that seems wrong to them, that they are able to come to you about it rather than feeling as if what they've done is wrong and they aren't able to then come to you about it and actually gain an understanding of what they've been
Right.
exposed to.
Right.
Godless Journey said that he read that if they are not old enough to reason why they're being spanked, not to spank them, and if they are, then why not just reason with them? Which I think is a very good mindset on that. I think that really sums it up. Like if you are it mirrors something that I've certainly heard before, and I cannot put my finger on what the context was of that I've heard, but it's just very simple. I think that's a good way of putting it, where if they don't understand, then there's no point in doing it because they don't understand why they're being hit and they don't understand what to do differently to avoid that in the future. But if they do, then they're clearly able to reason through things, so they should be able to just have a conversation with you about it in order to avoid having to ever spank them or any other sort of punishment along those lines.
Yeah.
I think that's very good.
Plus, I feel like the punishment just really doesn't fit the crime. Like, and it's just not dealing with it in like a constructive
Yeah,
manner.
I just don't know if there's any crime, or I guess crime,
Yeah.
that is befitting for a parent to hit a child. I just or an adult to hit somebody that is a child. I just don't think there's any reason why that would ever be okay, and I'm not really sure how it came to be that that became an
Because
accepted
it's
thing in our
easy.
culture. Of course, yeah, that makes sense. And back when this became a thing, I assume there was not nearly as much sort of emphasis on mental health and the problems that these sort of things can cause long term in children
Right. And
if
I
you are
feel like
exposed to this sort of violence and misunderstanding and fear at home from a young age. It can totally fuck you up for your future, and
right.
now we know that. And I think that's a lot of why people are kind of moving away from corporal punishment sort of thing.
I mean, from a psychological standpoint, it makes sense cuz like it's it's like cuz the punishment is, well, it's technically considered a negative reward system when you add something. um it's reward and punishment, and then like enforcement is, it's, if you get to like actual like definitions in psychology, it gets kind of complicated. But
Hmm.
if you look at like, are you familiar with like Pavlov's dogs,
I
where
believe
you
so,
ring,
but
he rang the bell, and they, because so he brought out the food, and then um they associated the bell noise with food, so they would salivate when they heard the bell.
hmm.
So it's, I guess the line of thinking there is, if my kid does something bad, then I'm gonna smack them, and so they'll associate with pain with doing something bad, so then they won't do it again. Which, it makes sense in theory, but I feel like you're it's like really not treating kids as humans.
Hmm.
Like,
I
if you and it's like he said, like if they're old enough to understand reason, it would, I feel like it makes more sense and is more constructive to reason with a kid, or at least attempt to, than it does to just whap them on the butt.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And something you brought up there about not treating the children like human beings. I feel like that's something that's kind of prevalent in our culture, where I feel like a lot of times children, especially when they're younger, but even some of them when they get older, a lot of the things, I feel like there's a lot of things in society that allow parents to kind of treat children as more like a pet than an actual individual human being.
Yeah.
I feel like there's, I'm not really sure how exactly to even go about changing that in the slightest to me. It just doesn't seem like a constructive environment for change for me, because it's a matter of uh like it's kind of like children are brought up kind of where they don't really have a say in most things in their life. It's a lot of,
Voting.
well, yeah, it's a lot of um like, you do this, well, why? Well, because I said so, sort of reasoning for things. And
Dress code in schools.
yeah, it's fair.
I'm just
um
listing societal examples. I'm sorry.
but I feel like that's a lot of the reason why younger people don't do things like vote as much, because they just got out of a system where they have never really had any power to actually question anything that's going on around them and have any results come from that. So I feel like by raising kids in such an environment like that, and then to say, well, yes, and now you are legally an adult, now you can vote, and maybe that'll change something. It kind of, you've
It's a
kind of been
very mixed
raised, yeah, you've kind of been
message.
raised to accept the fact that what you want doesn't really matter. It's all a matter of
Who has the
who has
power?
the power, yeah. And I I personally am of the camp that the voting age should be lowered. And I think the voting age should be lowered kind of substantially, personally. And the only problem that I can see with that
is the manipulation of the system by people who will have more children to then have more votes for what they want. And I'm not really sure how to account for that. But at the same time, if you have people who are, you would have to account for parents casting the children's vote for them. I think if you are a child and you are at a level where you can understand what's going on to the point where you can personally go in to a booth and vote on your own, that you should be able to do so. Because I feel like it's a matter of, until you are 18, you are living in a society where you are subject to the rules of law, you are subject to all of the regulations and all of this, but you have absolutely no way of actually affecting these. So while it's a democratic country, the United States, at least because that's what I'm familiar with, while we live in a democratic country, it's really only democratic for the people who are able to vote. And
Yeah.
the children kind of, until they reach
I
that
feel like if
point,
you're old enough to work and pay taxes, then
at the very least, yes. And I think it should be lowered even further than that. I think it should
12?
kind of be basically, if you are personally able to go in and vote on your own, go into a booth and vote, then I think you should be able to do so. Because while that will skew things, it will force people to actually target, or not so much target, but it'll force people to include those demographics into their thought processes when making decisions and when uh, campaigning and that sort of thing. And children are very easily manipulatable. Of course, they could put some things in there that would try and sway people. But I feel like when you have that system where children are able to express their own opinions through voting, then by the time that they become adults, they're accustomed to it. And when they get to the point where they are forming their own ideas rather than just mirroring what their parents are, then you have a much more informed, understanding voter base, is what I would say. I think that's kind of where I'm going with it. We have a couple comments. Just lower it to 14 or 15 freshman year of high school is fair enough to me. I could see that. I think that would be a a valid place to lower it to. I think at the very least, I think, like what Renee said, if you are able to work and pay taxes and you are in that sort of state where you are paying into the government, you should have some sort of say in what the government is doing. And I think the best way for that would be to have people who are, say, 16 or 15, because I know you can start working some places at 15, to be able to vote. I think that would be a. I don't think I think the positives would outweigh the negatives in the long run. And there would be some transition years where things were really fucked. But that's where we're at right now anyway. So I can't really see it getting much worse while trying
honey.
this. And I think it would be better for the country in the long run if that were to be the case, or something along those lines. That's what I would say. How did I get into lowering the voting age?
We talked about what religion would we raise our kids.
Oh yeah, well, we started talking about, oh yeah, because we were just going through the questions and we started talking about corporal punishment.
Yeah.
That was a very long tangent.
How old were you when you found out that Santa wasn't real? Bullshit.
Santa's not real?
Santa's real. This is a
You
conspiracy.
see, here's another interesting question.
Oh
Though.
god, I hate this.
I know, but is it right to raise your children lying to them about Santa Claus?
Oh, I hate this
Or
question.
does it? Because yeah, it can be fun, but at the same time, it is really fun for the children and for the parents. But does it teach your children to then be mistrusting of authority figures, or does it?
I feel like you're reading too much
I feel
into
like there's a
it.
lot of
like
negative
you're
things
reading
that
too
could
much
come
into
from. I think that you just want me to be reading too much into it because you like the idea of Santa Claus.
Who doesn't like
I-
the idea of Santa Claus?
I mean, that's a fair point, but I feel like if we want to raise children that are informed and logical thinkers and are thinking for themselves, I feel like just and if you're not going to raise your children with religion, why would you then take something that you know personally is not true, but then indoctrinate your child to believe that this is true because it's fun for you, just to and it is. It
Why
would
are
be
you
very
making it
it's
sound so evil?
well, because it's just a matter of you have these children who are impressionable and who are trusting you, and you know that this thing is untrue, but you are feeding your children this lie about
I
a
would say to
thing.
them, lots of children believe this, and it's up to you to make your own decision on whether or not you believe it's true.
Okay, here's what I would say about Santa Claus, and before that, I think we got another comment. Oh, I didn't realize that that's who that was.
It's Cheater. Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Who else says "What up, Dab Nation"?
I didn't know. Okay, that makes a lot more
You're a
sense. How you
moron.
doing? You see, but here's the thing, because you're raising children who are supposed to be trusting you, and you are trying to. Yes, there is a rabbit. But it's just a matter of. Oh God, I lost my train of thought realizing who that was. Shit.
I'm talking about Santa.
I know, but it's kind of a this
Oh,
is
God.
oh God. Well, you got a glimpse of the rabbit. That's Chekhov. He is our other son. He's sweet, but he's skittish. We have so you have to think about the fact that these children are supposed to be trusting you, and you are providing for them, and they have incentive to believe what you say. And if you are going to not raise them with a religion because you know that there's no reason to believe in a religion.
And that kind of goes back to it, because I would say, like, if you were like, a kid was like, "Mom, why do these women wear head wraps?" And then you'd have to explain, like, the Muslim religion, and then I would also say, people believe that there is a big fat man in the sky who brings presents, and now it's up to you to use your mind and see if that's something that you think is true.
And I think that if your child brings home the idea of Santa Claus, they've heard this idea of Santa Claus, and they're bringing it to you and asking you about it, that's when I think you can absolutely have a logical conversation with your child about, okay, so what are they saying about this Santa Claus? And do you believe that? And why? And logically work through it with them so that they, for themselves, come to the understanding that it's not real
But what
without
if it
ever
is?
having been indoctrinated with it. And I feel like there's no inherent benefit to doing it, to indoctrinating your children with it. And it just kind of, it's just a societal thing that you, by playing into it, you are basically just lying to your children.
I think you make it sound a lot more evil than it
Well,
is.
I mean, yeah, it is a matter of, it is a fun thing for a lot of people, but at the same time, it's just in principle.
You make it sound like it's gonna damage a kid for
Well,
life.
I don't think it will, but at the same time, it's just the principle of it. Because,
Well,
like, if your child brings it home to you and talks to you about it, and you can have a conversation with them, that's fantastic. But I don't think that you as a parent, I don't think I, as a parent, would want to teach my children about Santa Claus. Because I think that being dishonest with them in that way, I don't think that's right. Personally, I don't think I would want to do that with a child just because they are supposed to be trusting what I have to say, and I don't want to be taking advantage of that just based on a societal tradition. I don't
I'd
think
say
it
that's fair.
justifies it.
I guess that's fair.
I have
But I
another
would
comment.
but I would say is we would work through it together. Wow, I look really interesting with this. Up to you.
Somebody said just answer that it's their culture and explain what culture is. And I think that makes a lot of sense. I think like with the
Is he eating your shoe?
I think he's eating my pants or licking them. What a good rabbit. I think it's a lot of
And now he's picking his butt.
Rabbit, come here. Come here. No, you don't like us. Okay. Yeah, and I feel like if you teach your child that it's what some people believe, and then you logically work through what they believe with them and ask them, do you believe that that's something that happens or could happen, or do you understand why they believe that, and have a conversation with them, working through it with them making the leaps and you helping them walk through them, then I think that is a constructive thing that is good for
It's like,
the development of a child.
Delicious.
But I feel like if you personally, as a parent, are teaching your child something that you know is incorrect, then I feel like it's not worth it, I would say.
It's just fucking Santa.
And that's fair. It is just Santa, but at the same time, I just don't think I think it's has to be a matter of respecting the fact that your children respect you, and
Hopefully.
well, but I think that being truthful with them, even when society doesn't necessarily require it of you, helps
Yeah.
them to trust you and to respect you
Yeah.
as what you are. If you are treating them like an equal rather than, oh, look, the dog likes to chase the red laser pointer, let's play with the red laser pointer. The big fat jolly laser pointer.
That was a very interesting analogy. Why do you have a Tumblr? Because I'm an edgy teen.
Yeah.
No explanation needed.
She likes to think she's an edgy teen.
I'm an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's another get to know me tag, or do we want to just wrap this up? Because this is actually ridiculous.
Well, we've been going for almost 2 hours.
I know.
Let's see.
How about if we have any more questions from the gallery, we'll answer those.
Well,
but
let's just see
who
if the chat is.
gave this a thumbs down?
I don't know. I mean, let's be honest. In the beginning, it was really shit. I think we've had some good discourse after that. But Tumblr is for hentai, and that's it. Fair enough. So I guess I'll put it to the chat then, if you guys would like us to continue talking about completely random shit, or if you would like to us to just wrap this up. Because if you guys want to continue
going on in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, there is a stream going on at the Godless Iowan channel in like 10 minutes, as I understand it, I believe, is when he is starting his stream. So that is something that you guys should totally go check out, because Godless Iowan is awesome.
He's a nice dude.
Well, apparently the video quality makes Jeter want to die.
Is that
Dude,
what...
I don't know. I honestly have no idea why the video quality is so bad. I wish I could tell you. I wish I could fix it. I didn't even know how to stream until about 5 minutes before we started streaming. So it's really a miracle, and I use that term very, very. I don't use that term lightly.
Sparingly.
I think it's a miracle that we've even managed to get the stream started. So I think I will just accept the low quality of the video in this stream. Let me see what on my. I mean, it's not that bad, honestly.
It could be worse.
It could certainly be worse. I think you have standards that are far too high for me. You'll have to give me lessons then if streaming is so easy. All right, I guess we will go ahead then and just wrap this one up. Any final words?
Catch me on Twitter at Artisan Thoughts.
And that's THOUGHTS, not THOTS, like PewDiePie likes to call Twitch streamers. And I have been Justin, or Ging, or God is Not Good. And yeah, thank you for joining us for my first live stream.
AKA shit show.
Yeah, it was kind of a shit show in the beginning. I think we had some good talking points though. So thank you all very much for joining me. This will be going up for backlog watching on my channel as well, and join us next time when we inevitably do this again at some point and talk about probably more random shit.
Maybe the video quality will be better.
All right, have a good night, guys, and as always, have a blessed day, fellow heathens.